Hi there, and welcome to this video on AgilePoint's Generative AI, where we'll highlight how AgilePoint can ingest a process model of an application, perhaps from a legacy system, as well as an image of a form and transform it into a working business application. This is very powerful functionality that will help you easily modernize your legacy solutions and transport them to an agentic-ready AgilePoint solution. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to need process for this use case, and let's give our application a name. I'm going to leave my default design time language, which is English, and drop this into a category. We'll give our process model a name. We're going to leave the process triggered by field as eForms and allow for our generative AI service to determine the appropriate number of swim lanes. Next, AgilePoint is presenting me with a disclaimer that even though we're using AI to create our application, it's a skeleton and there will be some remaining elements left to configure. So let's go ahead and proceed from here. And as you're seeing, I have a number of different ways in which I can use AI to create my application. Let AI decide is essentially a prompt where I can provide a description of the application that I'd like to build. I can also use an image or a PDF. And in our case, we're going to go with an image. Now here, I can browse through connected repositories and upload the file, or upload it directly from my local file system. Okay, so AgilePoint is now working to understand the image of our process model, and let's take a quick look while it's thinking. So as you can see here, I have two human tasks, what appears to be a REST activity, business logic, as well as updates and email notifications. Okay, so as you can see here, we have our suggested list of process steps. If at any point I'd like AgilePoint to regenerate the result set, I can do so here, and I can also make changes or add steps to the process model. So as an example, we have our start task here, which indicates an internally facing first step of our process. Now, given this is a warranty claim, it might make sense to allow our customers to initiate their own claim, and as a result, I might select anonymous start task. Now here, under check warranty, AgilePoint was uncertain as to which system it should be interacting with. So as you can see, it's given us a placeholder. But if we look back to our initial source material, it looks like this might be a REST service. So I'm going to go in here and reclassify this. We'll go into connectors and select web service and REST call. Now, in addition to reclassifying, I can always add new steps. And as you can see here, they fall under the three categories you've just seen. Under common, that might be an email notification or a condition, a reusable subprocess, any number of human tasks, and again, the connectors that we've just walked through. But for now, let's scroll down towards the bottom because everything is looking pretty good, and we'll click next. So next, AgilePoint is asking me if I'd like to create my form with AI. So of course we would. We'll leave that selected. And again, I have a number of different document types that I can use as the basis for my form. So in this case, we're going to use a PDF. While AgilePoint is thinking, let's take a look at our form layout. So at the top, we have a request number with an asterisk telling me this is a mandatory field. Now, because this is a request number, it should have a unique ID each time this application runs. But across the first row, we have a 3-column layout with first and last name as text boxes and required. Below that is a 2-column layout with phone and email, again, both required. And the third row is a single column that spans all the way across for the customer's address. Down below, we have date fields, choice fields, and at the bottom, file attachments. Okay, so if we go back into AgilePoint, as you can see here, the list of fields is now being shown to me. And again, I can always make changes and massage the results until they're correct. Now, from a request number perspective, you're seeing here that's suggested as a data type of text. I know that we have a sequence number control that is a better fit, so I'm going to reclassify that. Down below, you're seeing here, I have a field for state. Now, in configuring this, AgilePoint is telling me that I have a pick list that could be suitable for this use case. So I can always reuse pick lists created previously. But in our case, let's go ahead and create fresh values. Okay, so as you can see here, the Generative AI service has created a list of US states. So we can now click Save. Scrolling further, you'll see here we have zip code, which again, we can reclassify. So we'll go over here, we'll search for the postal code control and reclassify that. Down below, we have type of damage, also as a drop-down list, which requires configuration. Now in this case, I want to go ahead and reuse a pick list that was created previously. Type of warranty as a radio button, which again we'll configure. As well as purchase source. So as you can see here, for the last two pick lists, AgilePoint has actually read directly from our form and populated the values. And then lastly, when I click Show the Line Breaks, you're going to see here that AgilePoint has faithfully preserved the layout of our source material. We have our request number alone at the top, first, middle, and last name in its own row, phone and email together. All right, so everything looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and click Next. We'll just go ahead and configure our data store. And down below, I can specify the primary key. Now in this case, AgilePoint has correctly suggested the request number as the unique field, but as you can see here, I can always select from any other column in my table. Next, I'll determine which steps in the process should inherit the form that we've just created. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as it is. Common application artifacts, things I can always set up later, but is a nice checklist. Application security. And then now we're going to be dropped into the application. We'll see our process with the business logic shown in the image, as well as a completed user interface form. Okay, so as you can see here, our completed process, human tasks, REST service, and process logic. Next, let's take a look at the form. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring up our form in preview here, just so that we can validate that the layout has been preserved. So as you can see here, first, middle, and last name in a row by its own. Below that will be phone and email, as well as street address spanned all the way across. Okay, so as we mentioned, there are a few remaining steps we have left to configure, things like task assignment, our REST service, as well as the remaining placeholder activities. Now to implement those final pieces might take another 20 or 30 minutes or so, and I'm going to cover that in detail in the next video. But when I'm done, the application is going to look something like this. So as you can see on screen, I have a fully configured REST activity where I'm checking the validity of the warranty, and added a number of activities at the bottom to update various systems of record, as well as send an email notification when the process is complete. So now that we've completed our process model, we can save and check it in, publish, and while AgilePoint gives me the ability to launch the application here directly, we can always go over to our Work Center, into My Apps, and launch the application. Now that our application is up and running, I've entered in some of my initial details, and I'm ready to open up a new warranty claim. Navigating over to the next tab, we can see geolocation is working and showing my current location. And then finally, we'll navigate over to the Order Details tab where we can input our order number as well as the product we purchased and see a number of additional fields automatically populate. Okay, so I've entered my order number and the product that I've purchased, and as a result, you're seeing things like order date, warranty expiry, order total automatically populate. So what's left is I need to indicate the type of damage that my screen protector has sustained. In my case, it's a scratch. And then lastly, here under purchase source, we're going to see some dynamic form behavior. Depending upon my purchase source, we're going to see additional fields open up. So as you can see here, I've purchased this screen protector from a dealer, and as a result, the dealer name is now visible. So with that, I've now populated the name of the dealer. And then lastly, we're going to input an issue description. Okay, so I've just added a description indicating that the screen protector has cracked. And down below, you're noticing a file attachment control where I'm going to upload an image of my screen protector. Okay, so we've just attached our image. So with that, we can go ahead and submit the process. And to see the application running, we can move into the task list, where as you can see here, I have a task that was assigned just a few seconds back. And if we bring up the AgilePoint process visualizer, we'll see that the application is now running. Okay, so here you see the process viewer. The green checks indicate steps that have been passed, and the spinning wheel indicates that we're currently sitting with the approval step in this process. Okay, so with that, this is going to conclude part 1 of the video. I hope to see you all in part 2. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time.